Simmer down. What's up? Okay, welcome to the New York Sunworks Youth Conference, Discovering Sustainability Science. My name is Stephanie Hsu, and I am an actor. I am in a Broadway musical called Be More Chill, and I am here to join y'all today to hear about your presentations and what you've been researching in your classrooms, and I am so excited. I got to visit PS 199 on Friday, and it's so exciting what y'all are doing! Woo! Okay. So we have 16 schools attending today, 53 students presenting, and 700-ish kind of students in the audience. Really quickly, I just want to thank our sponsors, New York Power Authority, Bregal, Con Edison, Hort Americas, TD Bank, and Broadway for supporting this conference and New York Sunworks programs. If you're excited, can I just get a woo really quickly? 1, 2, 3. Oh, whoa, amazing. All right. Okay, that's a good stretch. Okay, so today we are going to learn about the interactions between humans, that's you, I think, in the audience, technology and the environment, and how we can find creative solutions to the environmental problems of our time. And this is what we call sustainability science. So this first session is going to be about building sustainable cities. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the conference green team who are helping us organize our trash and get your snack waste into the right container. Yes, is that where y'all are sitting? Woo, fun. Okay, so if you have any questions about trash or where to put any of your snack bags, go over there. Okay, so first I want to introduce to you a very special guest. We have today the Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul here. New York Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul was elected in 2014 and re-elected for a second term in 2018. She was formerly a member of Congress in New York's 26th Congressional District, served as Erie County Clerk, and began her career in public office on her local town board. She's dedicated to her role as the governor's eyes and ears on the ground, so she makes it a point to travel to all 62 counties every year. That's amazing. So I am so excited and proud to introduce the 77th Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Hi, everybody. How are we doing today? How cool is that to have Stephanie Hsu, a Broadway star, on this very stage? Let's give it up for her. You're going to see a lot more of Stephanie. That shows how important this event is. And I also have traveled all over. Everybody know where Buffalo, New York is? Yeah, it's far. I woke up there this morning and I flew all across the state because I said I want to be here to say hello to these over 700 students. You know why? Because you are the special ones. You are the ones who stepped up and decided, I'm going to get involved in not just a project in school. You may not know it right now, but an idea that you've been working on in your teams at school may just be the next great thing that can help save our planet. That's a lot of responsibility, but you may have done that. So let's give yourselves a round of applause. And I'm just going to tell you one thing, because I know you're excited. Listen up. Back when I was a student, we had another crisis in our time. Our president had to go on national television and tell all of us that we were going to run out of energy in the United States of America. We've been getting all of our oil for our energy and warming up our houses and driving our cars. It was coming from other countries, and they were keeping it from us. So we called it a crisis, and every American citizen was called upon to do something themselves to help save our country. When you walked out of a room, you had to turn off the lights, turn the temperature down, don't drive a car, walk places. We are all told we had a responsibility to reduce our consumption, reduce our use of energy. And I thought back then, wow, we have an opportunity to focus on wind power and solar power and not have to use oil anymore. But you know what? The crisis passed. People went back to their old ways. They started driving big cars again. People left the lights on. They didn't care anymore. And look at the mess we're in today. Well, you know why I'm not worried? Because you are the ones who are going to save us. All right? You're going to save us, aren't you? Because you, by the projects you're working on and the things that you can do every day, every single day, you can be making a difference. So I'm not worried about the future because I'm looking at the future right now. And because you care about our neighborhoods and clean energy and sustainability and all the projects you worked on, and you're getting so smart to work on this, you're going to find the answers. And for that, on behalf of the 20 million people that I represent with Governor Cuomo in the entire state of New York, I say thank you. Thank you for being part of this contest. Thank you for taking the time to stand up here. And it's a little nervous to be up here, but you know what? Stand up here like this is an audience of all your best friends. Act like you own the place, and you will have fun today. So I want you to have a great time. Thank you for working on this. Thank your teachers for supporting this. Let's give a round of applause to all the teachers involved here. And have fun at the New York Sun Youth Conference. Have fun, everybody.
Amazing. Give it up one more time for Kathy Hochul. Okay, amazing. Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what she said because, you know, for those of you who don't know, the show that I'm doing right now, Be More Chill, is centered around young people. So I've been thinking a lot about young people these days and their capacity for change. And so I'm so excited to hear from y'all today. I'm going to be taking rigorous notes. I hope y'all have fun. If you get nervous, just stretch. That's what I do. That's why I'm stretching right now. Okay, great. I have another amazing presenter for you, another really special guest to introduce. That is Gil Quinones, okay? Gil is the president and CEO of the New York Power Authority. That is the nation's largest state-owned electric utility. Under Gil's leadership, New York Power Authority is currently playing a key role in the governor's Reforming the Energy Vision initiative to use new technology and to empower customers and encourage the growth of clean, renewable energy and energy efficiency. All right, let's give it up for Gil!
Good morning. You know, I just drove my daughter Sella to the Clinton School in Union Square. She's in 7th grade, and I said, "You are missing the best event of today." So she's a little jealous that she's not here. She has to go to school. But I am so thrilled. I am so excited to be with all of you today. My name is Gil Quinones. I'm the president and CEO of the New York Power Authority. Who are we? Well, the New York Power Authority is the largest state-owned electric utility in the U.S. You know, the electrons that power the subway, delivered by Con Ed, 840 miles of subway tracks, those electrons and electricity come from NYPA. The electrons that power our airport, LaGuardia, JFK, that comes from NYPA. So it gives you a little bit of a notion on who we are. Most of our power are produced from large hydroelectric power plants in upstate New York. So they are clean, sustainable electricity. Now, why is NYPA here? Well, we're one of the sponsors of your green classrooms. In fact, this year we're going to support about 20 of those green classrooms. Last year I was at the Edward R. Morrow High School. I don't know whether there are folks from that high school here. Great. And visited their green classroom. It was unbelievable. You know, they were growing plants hydroponically. They actually made pesto sauce for us, and they had a bicycle, and we made some smoothie. It was great. And I think that what's important is the things that they are learning and you are learning in these green classrooms. How do you grow plants hydroponically? How do you use the lighting, the LED lighting, so that they grow faster? So these are science and math that are involved in making that happen. And it's very, very important because, as the Lieutenant Governor just said, we all need to do our part to respond to climate change. And I am so proud that you are leading that effort, that you are doing your part in responding to climate change. And that's going to be important because climate change is a global issue. And New York, we're New Yorkers. We always lead. New Yorkers, we have our DNA that we are going to be the first one to do things. Do you know, you probably do, that electricity was invented here in New York by Thomas Edison in 1882. He built the first power plant in South Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan. And then another inventor, Nikola Tesla, invented how to transmit that electricity long distance from Niagara Falls to Buffalo. That was in 1888, just 6 years after Thomas Edison invented electricity. So it's in our DNA as New Yorkers. We always lead. We are creative people, and we show others, we show the world how it's done. And you are showing the world how it's done. I am so impressed. I can't wait for the presentations, to listen to the presentations today. And we look forward to supporting more green classrooms. One last call to action before we get to the meat of the program. I want you to do two things. I want you to continue to question why are we doing things the way we're doing things today. Question your parents, question your friends, and always find a way to do it better in terms of sustainability and clean energy. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to do your part in pushing for a more sustainable and environmentally responsible community, and in your case, schools. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Maddie. My name is Sophia. And I'm Isabella. We're from MSC. In MSC, we started a project on climate change. While researching about climate change on NASA and EPA Kids websites, we learned that climate change is causing more droughts, melting glaciers, increased ocean acidity, and more. We learned that climate change was caused naturally before the evolution of humans, and moderate warming and more carbon dioxide in the air may change production patterns of plants. This means a plant can start growing in the middle of winter when it traditionally grows in spring, killing the plant. This isn't the best for humans and animals that rely on plants to survive, such as herbivores, vegetarians, and anyone who earns a living by harvesting crops. After learning about carbon emissions, we chose to create a project centered around the topic of ocean acidity. Sophia will tell you more about that.
The first day we were assigned this project, we quickly took a large gray container and taped the bottom halves of plastic water bottles into each of the inside corners. As for the plants, we used lettuce seedlings growing in rock wool. We gave the plants enough water for a week. When we came back a week later, it had failed, in the sense that the bottles had fallen. We saw a similar project with materials we had already used. It was 3 water bottles taped together to make a triangle. We were desperate, and in the end, it worked fine. Every 1 to 2 weeks in a cycle, we would re-water the plants and add lemon juice or vinegar depending on the plant. We thought that if we added vinegar and lemon juice to 2 separate seedlings, the vinegar would do worse damage than the lemon juice. It turns out that the lemon juice does worse damage than the vinegar. It also smells a lot worse. The final week we did the experiment, we tested the pH of all 3 plants' water. The plant growing in just water had a pH of 7, which it should be. Meanwhile, the lemon juice had a higher pH than the vinegar did. This tells us that the lemon juice does worse damage, except wears off quicker.
Ocean acidity is caused by carbon dioxide, a gas in the atmosphere that is deadly to the planet and is caused by, well, you probably guessed it, humans. When humans burn fossil fuels like coal, gasoline, and jet fuel, that creates carbon dioxide. The ocean absorbs carbon dioxide, making it acidic. In the past 200 years, the ocean has become a lot more acidic. Since then, it has absorbed 500 billion tons of carbon dioxide. Ocean acidity is a global problem because the acidity will make it hard for corals to build their skeletons.
Corals are important because they create homes and protection for many other sea creatures. If we lose the coral reefs, it will lower the number of habitats for many sea creatures, and that will disrupt the food chain in the ocean. And then, no more baked clams or crab cakes for us. In the end of our project, the water section was healthy and alive. The rockwool stayed moist and the plant thrived. But in the vinegar section, the plant eventually came off and the rockwool dried. For the lemon part of our experiment, the rockwool completely dried up and turned a murky tan color. The cup was encrusted and the plant completely disintegrated. If ocean acidity gets really bad, it can creep up into our rivers and streams, making the water unclean and dangerous to drink. What people can learn from our project is that they are now aware of ocean acidity and can find ways to prevent it from getting any worse. Thank you for listening.
Go straight to her.
Give it up again for group one. Amazing. We're just taking a moment to get some mics transferred. But really quickly, I just wanted to maybe take a moment to, but can someone tell me in the audience something that New York Sunworks has taught them, or working with nature? What is something that has really inspired you about life? Let's get real, y'all. Yeah, well, way over there, can someone, maybe a helper can help me? This was an improvisation, and so there's no one designated to call on any hands. I didn't think of that. How about you way back there, when the pink shirt? Say that again? You can what? You can fix it, yes. Tell me more. Yes, that is so beautiful. Action, right? Taking action and using that in the classroom to practice towards modalities of change. That is so, so awesome. Let's get one more. Anybody from over here, a little bit closer? What is something that New York Sunworks has inspired you or has taught you? Yeah, right over there. Yes, beautiful. That it is okay to have trials and errors. And what was the last part you said? And to fix your experiments. Yes, one of my friends actually visited a classroom and he was telling me about aphids and the beautiful thing about what y'all do. Instead of being like, oh no, aphids, boo, you're like, oh man, these aphids are eating this plant. What is a solution to tackle this in a way that is informative and regenerative as opposed to just deleting the problem, right? That is so important to listen to nature and what it has to teach us. Okay, give it up for group number 2.
We're group number 2, guys.
We're PSO 99 and we're here to present If You Love the Ocean, Make a Commotion.
Ocean acidification is a topic you hear about in the news. We didn't know why it was such a big deal if the pH level of the ocean was dropping.
In order to get a better understanding of how low pH or high acidity can affect plants, we decided to investigate how it would affect the plants in our greenhouse classroom. We divided 20 basil and 20 parsley seedlings into test and control groups.
We then lowered the pH of the test group to 3.5 to 4.5 and kept the control group's pH at normal levels.
After just 1 week, we noticed the roots of our test group were breaking down, the color was less vibrant, and the plant leaves were looking less healthy.
While the control group was thriving.
3 weeks later, the control group was still healthy, happy, and growing well.
While the test group showed continued root deterioration, wilting, discoloration, and looked less healthy in appearance. After 3 weeks, we had to end our experiment because the roots had broken down so severely, they were beginning to clog the NFT table and create a bad odor. The plants were wilting and changing color as well.
As you can see, the test group grew less than the control group. Now it's clear that high acid environments were not healthy for living things.
Ocean acidification is one of the top environmental issues in our world today. For the past 200 years, the oceans have been changing to become increasingly acidic. Ocean acidification is simply the decrease of pH in the oceans.
When carbon dioxide dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid, making the oceans more acidic. Acidity prevents calcium from being absorbed, making the shells of mollusks weak and hurting both plants and animals in our oceans.
Carbon dioxide is the gas we exhale as we breathe. Our planet is out of balance. Humans are creating more CO2 than planet Earth can handle. The amount of carbon we create due to our daily life is called our carbon footprint.
Carbon is created from fossil fuels, such as coal or natural gas, which are burned to create electricity or power cars. Raising livestock for the meat we eat is another large contributor to extra carbon. Lastly, we have destroyed much of the forest and green spaces to make space for us.
Your carbon footprint doesn't just cause ocean acidification. It, along with other greenhouse gases, causes global warming. Global warming is a rise in the Earth's average temperature.
As temperatures are continuing to increase at record rates, the sea ice is melting. Ocean levels are rising. Extreme weather events are more frequent and more severe. And with all these changes, animals are being pushed to extinction.
The good news is we can change this. We can make choices that will help our oceans heal and make our planet a better place to live. We have just one Earth and no planet B, so it is worth the effort and work.
One way to help is to eat less meat. You could do a meatless Monday or just try eating more plant-based products. Livestock farming produces from 20% to 50% of all man-made greenhouse gas emissions.
Buying food local means less CO2 is emitted by trucks and even planes transporting food from far away. Not only is it fresher, it tastes better too.
When you walk, you do not need to release any carbon into the environment. A typical passenger vehicle emits 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year.
Another way to help is to use less energy. When you use electricity, you contribute to reducing carbon dioxide emissions.
Turn off the lights when you leave a room. Better yet, if it's sunny, sit by a window using natural light.
And finally, set your air conditioner to 78 degrees when you are home and off when you are not. Be sure to remind your adults.
If you love the ocean, then make a commotion. It's up to you.
Hi, I'm Milia.
And I'm Ella.
We learned about the effects of carbonic acid on mussel shells.
Okay, so what is ocean acidification? Ocean acidification happens due to oceans absorbing giant amounts of carbon dioxide, or CO2, from the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide comes from the burning of fossil fuels, and when the carbon dioxide mixes with the salt water from oceans, it becomes carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is harmful towards marine animals with shells made of calcium, such as mollusks, and this acid dissolves their calcium shells.
Our project. For our project, we tested how ocean acidification affects the mass of blue mussel shells. Our hypothesis was if we add acid to ocean water, then the mass of the mussels will decrease because the acid will start to dissolve and weaken the shell.
So our procedure was, first we set up 3 containers of the same size. In the first, we put 100 milliliters of salt water. In the second, we put 100 milliliters of salt water and 6 milliliters of acid. And in the third, we put 100 milliliters of salt water and 12 milliliters of vinegar. We labeled 3 mussel shells and put 1 in each container and labeled the containers. Over the course of 5 days, we weighed the mass of the mussel shells and studied changes in the mass and appearance.
Mass observations. The results of the saltwater shells were pretty consistent throughout the days of testing. There were slight changes in the mass of these shells, but we think it's only because we didn't dry the shells properly before we weighed them. The mass of the shells in acid decreased constantly, and after a few days there was a big decrease on day 4. This from 6.6 to 3.4 for container 2, and 4.4 to 2.9 for container 3.
So these are the pictures from day 1 of testing and the last day of testing, day 5. So what we noticed about the appearance was that by day 2, the shells had already started to disintegrate, and after a while, you were able to squeeze the shells all the way shut without them breaking, which you couldn't do with the shells that were in acid. And lastly, the outside of the shells in acid started to peel off, and you could begin to see the part below the top layer of the shell.
Our hypothesis turned out to be proven correct because the mussel shells and acid did, in fact, have a massive decrease in mass.
And overall, we learned that mussel shells and other marine animals can become weaker due to carbonic acid, which can make them more vulnerable to predators. This is a current problem in the world, and one simple way you can start is to compost, recycle, and reuse what you can. Thank you.
Good morning. So, before presenting, I have one clear question. Who here is excited for summer? Yay, that's a really good. Right, so my partner and I, unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but I'll be presenting on her behalf. My name is Verena, and I'm from Edward R. Murrow High School. I'm presenting trash cleanup and ocean protection. So, when you go to the beach this summer, make sure that you clean up the trash on the sand or if you see on the shore. So, just a brief introduction. This is an app on the left over there. It's an app that I created. Basically, the trash can is, it's a game. So when you open the game, this is the first screen you get, and then you press on the trash can, you get points for collecting the trash. But however, if you press on the turtle, you will lose points. So you don't want to hurt those sensitive animals, but really make sure that you clean up the trash around them because you're hurting their environment. Over here, this is my friend Sarah's presentation. She did a similar thing. Instead, she's cleaning water bottles around the ocean at the bottom of the sea. So, you see that whale on the left? He's a dead whale, and he was washed up on the shore. And if you see inside, there are lots of trash. There's a snowboard in there, apparently, and a lot of bad things. So, using MIT App Inventor and computer science at Murrow, I created this app to make sure that other animals, other than whales, to have the opportunity to live freely in the ocean without getting hurt by our own mistakes. So, in conclusion, through MIT App Inventor and computer science, we learned that people can use computer science to create apps to help our environment. So instead of creating Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, and all these other apps, or any games, in the future, we can create apps and games that could help the whole environment clean up the trash and clean up and save the animals in the ocean. For example, in addition, we can teach young kids, such as you guys, to clean up the trash and protect the ocean. As I've heard before in the slogan, there was ocean protection. If somebody can remind me, what was the slogan that was heard before? Cause a commotion. See, love the ocean, cause a commotion. So using apps like these could help the ocean and the animals in the sea. So there are possible problems out there, such as global warming and ocean pollution that are endangering creatures such as turtles, dolphins, and whales. So make sure when you go to the beach this summer to clean up the trash and do not leave trash any behind, and warn your friends because you don't want the turtles get hurt. The end.
Give it up. Awesome. Okay, I like giving it to the audience. So, what is another thing that New York Sunworks has really taught you or inspired you about life and all those things? Right over here. Is that a hand? No, that's shenanigans. Who has another? Yeah? Is that a hand or is that? Yeah, okay. Hold up, quiet, 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 quiet. What is something that New York Sunworks has taught you? Global warming and water pollution are hurting all of us. Yeah. Yeah. And what is something that you learned in the classroom that gives you hope or brings you some sort of vision of the future? Yeah, right over there. Can you speak up just a little since there's no mic human? Say that again. How it's different. How what is different? Different energy. Different energy or different things can affect the plants. Yes. It's so helpful to have something to look to understand how we or other components are affecting each other. Thanks for telephoning that, and yeah, give it up for your friend. Both, yeah, I love that. Take care of each other. Okay.
We are PSO 99's Recycling Rebels, and we are presenting Putting Plastic in Its Place. Plastic is a problem affecting the health of our planet. Plastics don't decompose as easily and can take 10 to 1,000 years to break down. As plastic decomposes, it releases toxins that pollute the environment and harm living things. Plastic harms ocean animals. Many sea creatures eat plastic thinking it's food or get caught in plastic like fishing gear or can holders and die. We need to make a move now before it is too late.
We wanted to see if we could do something to help. We learned about a program from Crayola that would recycle the plastic markers free of charge.
They take all brands of markers, not just Crayola. The markers are recycled into clean burning fuel so they never enter the trash stream. They even pay for shipping.
Our team knew we would need a strong plan if we were going to be successful. We first needed our principal, Miss Sherry's permission, but before we could ask, we needed to be organized.
We thought about who the people in our community were and put together an action plan and communication tree so that each teacher, family, after school, and even the custodians had a liaison to guide them through our program. We got the green light, and it was time to share our mission with the community.
We upcycled boxes to create collection containers which stayed true to our message. We met and educated teachers. Next, we met with each class to explain and answer questions about the Recycling Rebels and Color Cycle.
We hung posters about Color Cycle all across the school, made announcements on the loudspeakers, sent home notes to families about our Friday collections, and even presented at a PTA meeting.
A special feature of our program was the cleanup crew. Teachers could request their liaison to sort through teachers' markers to find the dried out ones.
In this way, we prevented more markers from going into the trash while also saving students the inconvenience of finding a dried out marker.
The program ran for 5 weeks, and we were able to remove 52.4 pounds of markers from the trash stream.
Color Cycle is just one way students can be more environmentally responsible, but there's lots of ways you can do it on your own.
Another way to make a difference is to connect with TerraCycle. This is a program that helps people recycle products that can't normally be recycled. For example, coffee capsules, batteries, candy wrappers, chip bags, and more. Things most municipal programs cannot recycle.
But there are ways you can make a difference. For example, KWS takes plastic out of the ocean and turns it into roads. Or Marimol, which runs a textile recycling program. Lastly, Call to Recycling recycles batteries.
Everyone can make a change in our world, especially kids. Here are some ways that kids can help our planet be plastic-free.
Stop using single-use plastic like straws and baggies. They are convenient, but bad for the planet.
When we use them, we create a demand for more to be manufactured. It might feel inconvenient at first, but there are so many substitutes that after a while, you won't miss it.
Recycle plastic responsibly. Recycling is worse than not recycling at all. When you place non-recyclables in recycling, none of the bin's contents will be recycled due to cross-contamination.
Bring a reusable water bottle to school. New York City has amazing water.
If we each make a few better choices, we can change the future and put plastic in its place.
Hi guys, how are you doing today?
Tough crowd. Okay.
I'm Sasha.
I'm Eva.
I'm Flora, and we are from Edward R. Murrow High School. And our school is lucky enough to have a greenhouse. And in this greenhouse, we grow a lot of produce, fruits, and vegetables. Do any of you know the 3 things that plants need to survive? It's food, water, and sunlight. And also love. You gotta care for your plants. So did you know that plants actually don't need to be grown in soil? You can grow plants in water. So this is our greenhouse, and we grow plants in water. This is called hydroponics. And we have a lot of different hydroponic systems. That over there is called the NFT system, or nutrient film technique. And it's really good for growing leafy greens like kale and herbs like basil and parsley. This is the tower system. You can grow lettuce and basil and other things. That is the Dutch bucket system. That's really good if you want to grow tomatoes or cucumbers. And this is the ebb and flow system, which also can grow things like squash and other fruits and vine crops. So not only do we have a greenhouse and we get lots of fruit and vegetables from it, but we as students can work in it, and people like ourselves, we maintain the levels of nutrients to keep the plants healthy and thriving.
So along with the produce that we produce in our greenhouse, we also donate to various organizations. For example, my peers and I, we donated our fresh lettuce to the Maspia Soup Kitchen, as you can see here. It was a fun and interesting way to get involved with our community. In addition, we also participated in the International Coastal Cleanup Day, where we picked up trash and we distributed basil jars to many. We educated students on the sustainable benefit of having hydroponic systems at home. Overall, the greenhouse gave us an opportunity to broaden our knowledge on sustainability, and we also were able to implement sustainable ways outside our school and within our school.
At the My Estuary Day at Kaiser Park earlier this month, we distributed hydroponic basil jars made out of recycled plastic bottles to the members of our community, enabling them to grow their own fresh produce and teaching them about ways that they can recycle. Now, how many of you guys recycle? That's great. That's great. So you can take your recycling above and beyond, like our pre-engineering students who use recycled plastic bottles to create new ways of growing crops hydroponically. All the people in our school are involved in making our greenhouse better and more sustainable. And lastly, thank you so much to New York Sunworks for helping to make all of this possible and for helping us in achieving our goal of making our community and our school a more sustainable place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lucas,
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jesse,
I'm Adar.
and our group is about ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is when CO2 is released into the atmosphere and water soaks it up, becoming more acidic, which heats up. How this happens is H2O, water, and CO2, carbon dioxide, add together and mix, making carbonic acid, C2CO3. Our hypothesis was that if we add acid to instant ocean, our form of ocean water, then the mussels that we tested on will have less mass. We measured this in grams. We thought this because acid will make the mussels dissolve, which makes them lighter.
What we did was we put 2 mussels in 2 different containers. Both of them had seawater, which we use instant ocean. One of them had vinegar, which is used as our acid. And we let the mussels sit in each container for a week, and we measured its mass in grams each day. We did this to see how unpredictable ocean acidification is.
As you can see, the mass of both shells decreased yet and increased, but never decreased enough to give us a true answer to our hypothesis, leaving us with an unconclusive experiment, which means that there was no real answer to our hypothesis and no true difference between the mass of each shell.
In conclusion, the mussel in container number 2 with acid gained mass. This change of mass surprised us because usually when acid is inserted into something, it normally dissolves. But instead, you can say it became fatter or gained weight. We came to the conclusion that this happened because the acid opened air bubbles and waterways, which trapped water inside the shell, which made it gain mass. Since our results had an unexpected outcome, in our next experiment, we would make sure that we use the same scale each time and use a scale that has been calibrated to make sure we get accurate results. Thank you.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Anastasia.
I'm Leilani.
I'm Ramani. I'm Brendan.
Hello, we are the 6th grade students from PSA 4 Brooklyn. Our group name is called the American BLTs. Sandwiches.
During this presentation, we will be explaining the way our group created a wicking system and sharing with you many of our glows and grows. This experience was not easy, but we made it happen. We wanted to design a wicking system because we were curious about this design and thought it would be the most successful. We made sure to use only a few materials, but they all needed to be eco-friendly because we wanted to make a system that you could probably even make in your house with everyday materials.
As mentioned earlier, we didn't use very many materials, but the most important ones were old plastic bottles, an old t-shirt for the wicks, a container for the reservoir, air pump to oxygenate the nutrient water, clay pebbles, and of course, plants.
Building a system wasn't easy. We tried to build the most efficient way possible, but we experienced many ups and downs. After we gathered our materials, we traced holes in the lid of the reservoir, and the New York Sunworks helped us drill the holes for the plants. We cut the bottles in half and flipped them upside down. Then we cut strips of an old cotton t-shirt to use as our wicks. Then we soaked the wicks in nutrient water and then wrapped the wicks around the roots of the plant. Then we put the plants in the plastic bottle. Then we put clay pebbles in the bottle to make sure the plants stand upright. And finally, we added the air pump to oxygenate the roots of the plant.
Only some maintenance is really needed for our hydroponic wicking system, but not daily. This is because the system is passive, so that means that you can set it up and practically walk away for days at a time. Weekly checks of the reservoir water level, pH level, and nutrient level are needed weekly. The pH is how acidic the water is.
Some positives about our wicking system is how low maintenance it is. Once it's set up, it doesn't require much work. Also, it takes up a small space and can fit on a windowsill. Another positive is that vegetables can grow easily in our system. Some challenges was with our wicks. When we first added the wicks, we quickly noticed that they would not bring enough water to our roots, so our plants died. Then we rewrapped the wicks directly around the roots, and our plants still weren't doing well. So finally we had to recut new wicks that were thicker and that can bring more water to the roots.
What you see here is a sign of hope for this planet we call home, because while our city is growing, our local food is not. This project made us realize how important it is to have the knowledge and ability to grow our own local food with limited space. In creating miniature hydroponic systems, this gives us hope for more local food. If we keep on creating systems like this and come up with new ideas to develop ways to turn our wrongs into rights, this world will remain beautiful and the growing of our food will be more sustained. PSA4 thanks you for your time, and we hope you guys have a great day.
Finally.
Hi everybody, I'm Logan and I'm here with my classmates from City As High School's hydroponics class. At City As, we are dedicated to having sustainable, accessible, and hands-on preparation and production of food. Here to tell you more about what we have is my classmate Max.
In our hydroponics lab, we have 3 different types of systems that house plants. One is a vine crop system, which houses plants that grow tomatoes, peppers, and we have an NFT system, actually 2 of them, which is the nutrient film technique systems that house chard, basil, and we also have 2 towers.
We also grow food in soil organically at the Battery Urban Farm since 2011. We grow 5 types of rice in our lab with the support of Lucky Rice and Nick Stores. The types of rice are hard to find in stores and very special.
We harvest our food and make a lot of different stuff with it. Here is us making a hot pepper relish, and what are you making?
Oh, this cycle I am growing Thai basil and Bibb lettuce, and I'm using them to make Thai basil lettuce wraps. And Max is making a kale pesto.
That's right.
Oh, we also sell and give away our crops. We do a farm stand where we give 50% off crops to students who can take it home and then have nutritious meals that they make at home. And we also donate them to food banks. Look at that guy. He looks pretty happy. And we also rescue leftover cuisine. We volunteer with an organization called Rescuing Leftover Cuisine, and we collect food from nearby corporate offices who get catering done, and we take their extra food and we bring it to our hydroponics lab where we serve an evening meal. We serve on average 35 students a day on Monday through Thursday, and many of them bring food home for their families, which both reduces the waste that these companies are making and feeds our hungry learning community.
So next steps. How can we become more sustainable as a school? Recently, we performed a school audit, food audit, which is a survey that went out to our students and staff to find how can we make our school more sustainable and healthy. And we discovered that we should bring in a nutritionist or a chef, and so we're applying for a grant so that we'll be able to do that in the near future. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all are so amazing. If you're having fun, can I get a woo woo? Great, yeah, I'm having so much fun. Okay, thank you all for your amazing, amazing presentations. I'm so excited to hear more. Right before we have some snacky time, I want to introduce someone I am really, 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 really excited to hear from. Her name is Tina Pina, who is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Renewable. Renewable is a waste-to-resource company, and they're based in Brooklyn that envisions a closed-loop agriculture system throughout the world in which food waste does not exist, okay? So chemical additives have no place in our food, and farmers and growers feed their local communities as opposed to landfills. So give it up for Tina Pina.
Thank you. So it's really exciting to be here today. I think so much of what you guys have not only demonstrated in your projects, but also just the findings today is really also inspiring to me, as well as our business, which is Renewable. So as Stephanie mentioned, I'm the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Renewable. And what I noticed back in 2012, working with students such as yourself back in Thurgood Marshall High School, located in Harlem, that in 2012, we were spending $77 million to export food waste from our schools, from our cafeterias, from food distributors in Hunts Point, Bronx, to send it to China, Pennsylvania, Virginia. And now, if you can imagine the carbon footprint behind that, it's incredibly large. Today, we spend roughly $186 million. And as more people live in urban areas, it's not only going to increase, but it also challenges us to rethink models of how we can use or upcycle food waste. And I'm going to explain to you one idea how Renewable decides to take on that challenge. And so what we do is we take the produce waste from food distributors and food processors that can't go to food banks or farms, and we turn it into plant-based hydroponic fertilizers. Now, you guys may have worked with fertilizers that are liquid or salt-based, and they're all coming from a very heavy industrial petroleum-based supply chain. I'll explain to you what that exactly means. But all that means is it creates a ton of greenhouse gas emissions, which increases our temperatures and only creates more problems for us in our future. So what we decided to do was to basically dehydrate the plant-based food waste. So we only take vegetative waste from fruit and vegetables, again, that can't be recovered, and we dry it, turning it into a pellet that will ultimately provide the sources of nutrients for our plants that we'll explain later in the form of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And we sell it direct to farms. So the same type of farms that you guys have in your schools, we sell it at large scale to vertical farms. This is an example of one that's roughly 100,000 square feet. Or you see one which is a tomato grow based in California. Large scale, able to help us not only grow food closer to cities, but have much more food per square foot being grown, and also use 90% less water, the same type of impact that you guys have in your schools. We also noticed that the same problem that we're trying to provide for the hydroponic farms, which is providing a plant-based, no manure or animal byproduct fertilizer, which makes it much less prone to having antibiotics and some of the other chemicals in our food. But those same problems or same type of demand for a type of product of ours for hydroponic farms was also being witnessed for soil-based farms in California, where they're growing an abundance of the world's food supply. But the problem is a lot of times because of the problems dealing with chicken litter or other manure-based products, it's not only creating the dead algae zones that some of the projects alluded to this morning, but it's depleting our soils of nutrients. So renewables trying to make an impact on our larger agricultural system. Now, in the world, agriculture, which is either growing livestock or plants, contributes 30% of carbon emissions. From livestock alone, that's 14.5%. So that's a heavy amount of impact on how much pollution is being created just from being able to grow food from our systems. And fertilizer, which is our product, is 3%. So what we decided to do is basically change this very carbon-intensive system, how we source our nutrients, which those mineral salts that a lot of times are all chemical that you guys feed to the plants to help them grow. That's their nutrient or plant food. It's coming from Brazil, it's coming from China, it's coming from very long distance or large distance places to be sourced, and there's a lot of fuel and emissions that are being created to extract it and mine it from these fields so that we can grow our plants in our schools, in our farms today. But there's a different way that we can do that, and that's by using the food waste in our cities so that we can complete one circle, one sustainable cycle, and really leverage local waste streams to grow our food. Because ultimately, we can get the same type of nutrients that you guys have used with growing your food today from more organic or plant-based sources. Now, an alternative to what we use is bats. Bats also have feces, right? Just like cows, just like chickens, just like fish. All of these serve as amazing fertilizer, amazing plant food for our farms and for our lettuce and for our basil, some of the food that you guys talked about you're growing in schools, which is great. But unfortunately, because of how our food systems are so intertwined and some of the pharmaceuticals or just medicines that some of these animals take, there is a challenge, there is a problem of how that's being also found in our food. So how can we control for that? How can we limit what we're eating so that what I truly believe, as all of us have the power to heal ourselves, how can we use our food as a mechanism to do that? So what we did, as I described earlier, is we pelletize. We basically turn the food waste into small granules and small pellets, and we feed it to the plants so that they can grow the same natural way as they would with the chemical alternative. But as you guys remember, you need a source of nitrogen, you need a source of phosphorus, and you need a source of potassium. Just like we take vitamins and we eat food to be able to grow and reach our healthiest optimum level, plants need the same type of specific nutrients, which is also NPK, short for, at specific points in their life to get to the point that we can grow and actually harvest a full head of lettuce. And as you remember, nitrogen is serving the really big, robust vegetative stage. That's what helps get its early growth. Phosphorus is that flowering. It's allowing the bud, allowing the plants to bud and really kind of like fruit, if you will. And then potassium oftentimes is what gives the flavor, gives the color, allows the plant to get the characteristics that you may know a tomato or even a flowering plant. And so we did the same type of trials that you guys did in your schools, really taking the same pellet that you saw earlier to see if we could make the same type of impact, if the plant could grow in the same way at the same end harvest weight as one grown using chemicals. And so far today, we've been able to show that. And so what we really envision is not only a world where cities are more sustainable, we're more resilient to climate change, but we're also creating more of what is called a circular economy. And that means all the waste streams that we create just because we're growing in size, we're consuming more, we're extracting more from the environment in order to make or meet our needs, so that we're using in a way that, you know, we're growing closer in our cities, relying less on food that's traveling long distances, such as in California, so that we have much more of a positive impact and actually can return value to our environment rather than take too much or extract so much away from it. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate the impact.
That was amazing. Let's give it up one more time for Tina. So dope. Okay, really quickly, right before we take a little break, I want to bring up the green team. Oh my God, she's wearing a Be More Chill shirt. Wow, that's the show I'm in. I did not, that's a surprise. That's fun. Okay, cool. So this is your green team, and they are going to be helping you answer any questions you have about things that you are recycling, any snack bags and things like that. Is there anything that any of y'all want to say?
We're the.
Can we listen up?
We're the PS333 green team, and we just want to make sure. We just want to make sure that everyone puts their trash in the right bins, since we want to be very sustainable.
So the boxed water goes in blue bins, and yeah, just the blue bins.
Oh yeah. And the liquid from the boxed water, if there's any left over, goes into these bucket thingies.
On your way out, if you see any of these bins, feel free to throw your empty Kind Bar wrappers into this. And yeah, that's it. That's it.
Cool, awesome. So we're going to take a quick little 10-minute break, and we'll see you back. Bye.
This classroom used to be a ton of bookshelves and books that were unused, and it was cluttered and it was a mess. And the past few weeks we've spent time cleaning out this whole area so that this grow lab could be installed, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
Hi, I'm Amy. These are my coworkers, Mamie and Virginie. This is our second project, or our second lab that we're building. We were able to involve our family in the lab building. It's been a very rewarding experience.
This is your vine crop system. You've got 10 buckets here, and then each of these tubes will deliver water into the plants in the buckets. And you're going to be putting your vining plants and your fruiting plants so that they can get nice and big. They're hanging the lights now.
It's going to give the girls a lot of experience that they've just never had, and it's also going to be a huge learning experience for myself as well. At our school, we're expanding our environmental engineering program, and so this lab is going to enable us to sort of get a lot more hands-on experience.
Here you're going to have an NFT system, and you're going to have 4 channels for plants to grow in. We like to put leafy greens. You'll have a reservoir, and the water will go through some tubing into the channels. The roots can catch the water and take up the nutrients. This is a tower garden, and the way it works is there's a reservoir at the bottom with a pump, and it shoots the water up to the top, and then the water trickles down onto the plants.
I've never had a system like this in the classroom, and we're going to be, working together and learning together, and it's going to be great. I would just like to thank New York Sunworks, Rigel Investments, and the Kofor Foundation for building this lab in the classroom. It's going to be a
I've been blown away by these presentations. I did not know what I was expecting today, but I've learned a lot, and I'm just so impressed with what you've done. So maybe another round of applause for everybody who's been presenting. Yeah. So I just want to talk to you guys about sustainable cities, okay? And the word sustainable is something that you're going to hear, you're already hearing from politicians all the time, like guys like this guy. And a lot of people are going to use this word to try to, convince you of something or try to tell you about a project. But I want you guys to really think about what sustainable really means. Because a lot of time you'll see a project like this, and it'll be a big skyscraper, and it'll be beautiful. But is that really what sustainable means? Does anybody you know actually live in a place like that? Probably not, right? So I want you guys to think about, what are cities really like? What are they truly like? Where do we really live? And I think cities are messy, okay? I think the subway is busy. I think there's a lot of people there. I think food courts are busy. There's a lot of activity. And I think to be sustainable, we've got to think about how we make a messy city that's actually sustainable as well. So New York City is full of basements like these, okay? Under every single building, there's a basement. My company, we took over a basement downtown, and we decided to build in there. And we decided to build in this mess. And we put up racking systems, and we decided we were going to build a vertical farm. And now this farm is full of plants from all over the world. And we've taken that mess of the city, and we've made something really beautiful. And in that farm, we grow between 100 to 200 different kinds of plants. Cities are also hungry, okay? You guys are hungry. It's getting to lunchtime pretty soon, I think. So if you think about the millions and millions of people in cities consuming food, that's a huge, huge, huge impact on the environment, okay? So choosing what we eat has a big, big impact as well. And a lot of the food that we eat in New York City, it comes from farms like this in Mexico, or in California, or even in Israel. And so it comes from a long way away. And that means that it has to go inside packaging, so you get really wasteful styrofoam packaging. It means that it goes on planes, so there's a lot of waste, a lot of emissions from the planes. And by the time it gets here, it's often really wilted and old. Have you ever picked up something from the supermarket and actually it's already old? It's already kind of out of date. So this doesn't feel like a sustainable solution to me. Instead, on our farm, because we grow in the city, just like some of you guys, we can actually package stuff up and deliver it the same day. And we can use reusable packaging. So we use these pans here that actually go to the restaurant, and then when they're done with it, they can give it back to us. So no waste at all. We can deliver on the bike and on the subway. So you'll see guys carrying these bags on the subway, which means that we don't have to have a truck, we don't have to use a plane. And it means we can actually meet the chefs who are using our food. So this guy is Victor Amarillo. He's from Venezuela. He's a cook downtown at La Turtle. And he loves our produce because he knows us. And that relationship is sustainable as well. So instead of getting produce from a farm that's 55,000 miles away, they're getting it from someone who's down the street. The last thing I want to say about cities is cities are huge and cities are diverse. And New York is a big city, but it's by no means the biggest city on the planet. This is a list of China's biggest cities, okay? And New York is only just above halfway on that list. There's cities you guys have never even heard of in China that are much bigger than New York City, okay? And so the problems that you're solving here, the solutions that you're creating, have impact all around the world. And so it's very, very powerful if you guys start to solve problems in the way that you are. What's this? Chicken nugget. Because cities are huge, what we eat has a huge, huge impact. And I don't really know what culture the chicken nugget really represents, you know? I don't think my grandmother knew what a chicken nugget was. I don't think any of your grandmothers knew what a chicken nugget was. The reason I think that's important is because what you eat has such a huge impact. And chicken nuggets are kind of made out of this industrial process, right? Have you ever seen this stuff? Yeah? The process the process that makes chicken nuggets, which is really factory farming, right? These huge, huge, huge farms. That's a farm on the left. You can see a few livestock dotted around. This is the runoff from that livestock, right? And exactly as people have said today, it goes into our rivers, it goes into our oceans, it affects our fish, it affects our plants, right? And so that little choice, that chicken nugget that seems like such a small thing, when you add it up into the scale of cities, it has a huge impact, okay? I want to show you something that's like the opposite of the chicken nugget, I think. Does anybody know what this is? Can you guess like what this is? This is actually Vietnamese mint, okay? It's called King Goi. King Goi. And the reason why I think it's the opposite of a chicken nugget is that actually I think that does come from a cultural place.
Tell your friend who's sitting next to you to maybe simmer down. We are coming back. Simmer down, please. Simmer down, please. We're going to be nice about it. Okay, quiet down. Amazing, y'all. Did y'all enjoy your snacks? No? Yes? Kind of? Mediocre? Yeah, snacks are kind of a hit or miss. Okay, we're gonna simmer down. I'm just gonna wait for y'all to be ready, and then I will be ready for you. Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. What a beautiful morning. I'm having such an incredible time. I'm so excited to hear about the next presentations. Really quickly before we start the second session, Manuela has a quick little announcement. We're good. Okay, great, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in. So really quickly, we just want to thank our sponsors that helped us make this happen. A super shout out to TD Bank, who joined us early this morning to help set everything up. The press team here today, the student press team, is doing such an incredible job interviewing you all. So let's give it up really quickly for them. Woo! Great, awesome. Okay, so our second session is going to be about building a sustainable future. Y'all have been doing so much research on what the root source of these issues are that are affecting our planet, but something that is really important in all movements of change is to also look to the future, right? And you all are such a huge part of that. We have to see what's going on and what's wrong, and also have hope and move towards change. So I'm personally really excited to hear about this this next chunk. And really quickly, also, it's important to say that we are streaming this conference live on NYSWorks.org. So let's just say hi, hi, woo, yeah, amazing, awesome. So let's give it up for our next student presenters.
I don't want to be here.
What's up? Yo, the order.
My name is Elizabeth Combe.
My name is Jason Arroyo.
And I'm Marvin Almonte.
I am Armani Miranda. We are from PS 377, Bushwick, Brooklyn. Our experiment name is No Rockle, No Problem.
We thought about hydroponics and materials we use to grow crops in our classroom. As you know, hydroponics is a farming practice that does not use soil as the planting medium. We were curious to see if different growing mediums other than rock wool would impact the sprout time or success when planting basil seeds. Boy, we were in for a few surprises.
Why does it matter if we are able to farm using unique planting mediums? Not everyone has rock wool. Not everyone can afford to purchase rock wool, and plants will be happy growing in different substrates.
A big question. Will changing the planting medium have an impact on whether or not a seed will sprout?
Criteria for selecting a planting medium. Will it create a bed at the bottom of the net cup? Will it allow water and air to help the seed grow? Are the materials easy to find? Everyday stuff or things we might throw away? Will the roots be able to grow through the bottom?
We made a list of different planting mediums that we thought might work. My favorite was the sponge and the felt.
Day 1, we gathered our materials and planted our basil seeds.
Day 5, we see signs of germination in the sponge, cotton balls, felt, and yarn.
Unfortunately, the watermelon turned moldy and smelled really bad.
The packing peanuts, styrofoam, synthetic cloth, and craft paper haven't sprouted yet.
This is us working hard to document our findings.
Day 21, our plants are almost ready to be transferred into NFT or nutrient film table, which they are there now.
These are 2 of our successes. What did we discover? Seeds will sprout in a planting medium other than rock wool. You can do this at home. Experiment with things you might throw away. Select the growing medium that would allow water and air to help the seed grow. Be patient.
Why should farmer scientists experiment with other substrates to see if plants will grow in other substrates? Recycling and upcycling materials help keep the environment clean. Less trash in the landfill, more economical. It's free. Think outside of the rock wool.
Hi, my name is Mehi from PSIS 121 Magnet School of Applied Sciences.
Hello, my name is Devin Ortiz.
Hi, my name is Tahir Rahman.
At our school, we apply science to our life to make the world a better place.
In the beginning, 3 years ago, we planted in beds in our school garden. We planted flowers and vegetables. We introduced worms to enrich the soil. We took out weeds to prevent our plants from dying.
Unfortunately, soon after we started gardening outside, our school was struck by lightning after school hours. The school construction authority checked the school and decided to make repairs all around the building. The garden was now closed and still is. This was 2 years ago.
We started growing plants in the building then. We planted low-maintenance succulents in order for us to learn basic plant care.
We put grow stands in the hallways to display plants, create oxygen, and experiment with them.
Our green team started planting on windows without soil to continue greening our building. This is a simple form of hydroponics. We reuse plastic bottles.
We started hydroponic too. We planted in the signaling station. We had sun, more than one.
We built and cleaned the tower systems.
We tested water by checking the electrical conductivity and pH.
Our nutrient film technique station sun had crabs. These plants grow very fast. We grow arugula, bok choy, lettuce, sweet chard, mesclun, basil, kale, sage, and other leafy green plant herbs.
We grow cucumbers and tomatoes in our vine crop system.
Now we have 6 towers throughout the building. This one is in room 101.
This one is in lunchroom.
This one is next to our gym. We use this kale in these towers to make smoothies to sell every Wednesday.
These 2 are in room 217. One tower produces food for our animals.
This one is room 317. This tower is for 8th grade to enjoy with salad.
We also learn to propagate plants by taking the babies and planting them in separate pots.
At the same time, we found a gardening friend who helped us create a tub garden outside to keep us gardening while the scaffolding remained. Here we are growing special wild berries, fig trees, and vegetables.
We started resting and realized we had too much produce. What do you think we did with this produce?
We opened a green store and now we sell leafy greens and herbs and houseplants we propagate to help our community be healthy and happy. We know that eating our greens and beautifying our school makes us both mentally and physically happy. Our green store is selling produce every week. We make the world a more beautiful place.
Thank you.
I'm Ariel from Edward R. Murrow High School, and I did a science project on using the peels of different fruits to create bioplastics, which are a type of environmental sustainable plastics. And I tested them to see their rate of biodegradability, which I measured by their weight loss. Specifically, I used the peels of fruits because they're organic waste products. For example, how many of you recently have thrown away a banana peel without knowing fully what it could be used for? So I took advantage of these peels from potato peels, banana peels, and cassava peels and turned them with a few other simple materials into bioplastics. So bioplastics are made from plant sources and polymers, and they're biodegradable and very sustainable, and this leads to the overarching question, how can we change the plastic industry to sustainably produce environmentally friendly bioplastics? And my goal was to create bioplastics from different sources of starch, which is a type of polymer, from banana peels, potato peels, and cassava peels, and test them to see how effective they are at biodegrading, which means decomposing without fragmenting into microplastics. Starch actually impacts the properties of the bioplastics as well. The starch granule size and the ratio of the glucose chains can impact how fast these biodegrade. So here is my steps to create the bioplastics. First, I had to peel the bananas, potatoes, and cassavas. Then I had to sieve them and boil them to obtain the starch, which I set it out to dry. Then I was able to mix it with glycerol, water, and vinegar to form plastics and put them in the oven. And then to test their biodegradability, I actually buried them in compostable containers for 4 days and measured the weight loss. So as you can see here, they all started off at 3 grams, and the banana peel-based bioplastic lost the most weight over the 4 days, so followed by the potato peel and cassava peel. So this proved my hypothesis, which was originally that the banana peel-based bioplastic would lose the most weight because of the differences in the starch granule size and the ratio of amylose to amylopectin. So I know those are big words, but those are basically the glucose chains in starch. And then there were some sources of error, so I used 2 plasticizers instead of 1, and the plastics also turned out a little hard and stiff. So they weren't like conventional petroleum-produced plastics, but they were a type of bioplastic, which is cool. So this also leads to the question, how can we actually use this to better our environment right now? So considering that the banana peel starch-based bioplastic had the best qualities as a bioplastic since it biodegraded the fastest, this could potentially function on the market for, in the plastic industry as a replacement to petroleum-produced plastics. And we can even use it to create utensils or everyday food objects or really anything. And this opens up the possibilities that we can use food waste to create bioplastic, which I think is such a cool idea. So I encourage you guys to go out and see what types of environmentally friendly inventions you can make and inspire others to take advantage of items that instead of being wasted can actually be turned into stuff like plastic. So yeah.
What do I make? What's next?
Hi, my name is Boone.
I'm Amelia.
My name is Sammy.
And I'm Henry. We're from PS333.
Climate change can be made simple or complicated. It's basically when weather patterns change for the better or for worse. It affects many places close and far from us.
This project is focused on water levels. Water levels can affect plant growth by there being too much water or too little. With too much water, plants become overwhelmed and wilt. But with too little, they die of dehydration.
Water levels, but more specifically, droughts, are globally a problem because it affects plant and human life by depriving them of daily necessities.
Most people think that droughts are when a place is completely cut off from water. This is not true because a place always has water, even if it is deep beneath the surface. It is difficult for a plant to survive in a drought, but not impossible, as long as the plant has long roots to draw water in that is deep underground.
Our inspiration for this project was simply the fact that we wanted to learn more about droughts and their causes, plus the effects.
The setup to our project is very simple. We started off by choosing 3 identical plants and giving them each a different amount of water. We did this by stacking multiple plant holders so that one plant was elevated, the other was even more elevated, and the last regular with only one plant holder. This allows us to control the water levels because the elevation brings the roots farther out of the water.
Our hypothesis for our project was, if we limit the water of 2 of the plants, but not the first plant, then the first plant will grow better. We kept track of our plants by labeling them based off the amount of water they got. We labeled our first plant regular because it was given the normal amount of water. The second was labeled half as much because its roots were only half submerged in water. Our final plant was labeled barely any. This is because its roots were only just touching the water, giving it some water, but not a sufficient amount.
The outcome of our project proved that our hypothesis was correct. The plant with the normal amount of water thrived the most. We were not surprised about this, but we were surprised that the plant with only half as much water thrived well too, but not as well as the other plant.
This all shows that droughts can drastically affect plant life, which will lead to it affecting our life, then our world.
Thank you for listening.
Go into it.
And now I'll tell you about my project. As you know, levels of precipitation vary throughout certain places. It rained not so long ago, but in the Sahara Desert, it only rains every 400 years. As you know, too little water can be a problem. For example, too little and there's not enough to grow crops. Too much and you flood the whole farm. So what my partners Justin and Chris did is we built a sustainability project where we compared too little, too much, and just right. How we set up this project was we got 3 samples of barley grass, as you can see, and we put 1 in sand, and we only gave it 5 ounces of water every week. And then we put the second sample in our school's aquaponics system, and the third submerged in a big glass of water. Can I have it? Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to work this. Okay, well, okay, you'll have to imagine it. All 3 plants started at 34 centimeters. 4 weeks later, the first sample was 27 centimeters, the second was 36, and the third was 30 centimeters. What I think this can teach us about climate change is too much is better than too little. Thank you for listening.
Oh, my anxiety. So, what are questions? Oh, my life.
Hi, I'm Angelise.
What's up? I'm Vicky.
Howdy, I'm Gabriella.
Hey, it's Anna.
Hey everybody, I'm Quinn. We're the 6th grade students from PS 84 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Today we're going to be telling you guys about some NFT systems that we built. We chose this kind of system because of the interesting ideas and challenges that it brought. Some of the important materials that we used were recycled plastic bottles, a container we used as a reservoir, a clipboard from our greenhouse classroom, 2 wooden dowels, clear flex tape, a water pump, tubing, net cups, rock wool, and plants.
First, we gathered up all of our materials. Then we traced the width of our water tube into the base of our water bottle and traced the base of our net cups on the top side of the bottle. With the help of Mel and Aiden, holes were drilled for the net cups in the water tube. A small water pump was placed into the bottom of our reservoir, and then water tubing was measured and cut. We angled a plastic bottle using flex tape to ensure water would flow out and cycle throughout the system. Finally, we filled in our reservoir with nutrient water and we placed the plants into the bottle.
To keep our plants healthy and to optimize the performance of our system, we added some paper around the sides of our reservoir to prevent algae from clogging the roots of the plants. We also need to make sure to check the water level weekly in our reservoir to ensure there's enough water cycling through our system. And finally, we need to check the nutrient and pH levels of the water so that our plants have everything they need to thrive.
Building our NFT system had many positives. For example, it's eco-friendly because you're saving water and plastic. Also, the plants are grown in the most natural state possible. Moreover, you won't have to worry about soil-based issues like pests and parasites. Finally, it doesn't take up much space and can easily be put on a windowsill. A challenge that our group had to face was having to cut the water tube in the right spot, because if we had to cut it too short, then we would have to start all over with another tube. However, we only had enough tubing for each group. Another thing that challenged us was keeping the bottle in the same spot so that the water won't spill.
We think that our system will be an outstanding addition to our school's greenhouse. Also, this project could be a solution to how New York expects to feed an increasing population with limited land space. It will do this because you could build an NFT system right in your home. It takes a very little space and it's easy to build, so try it yourself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jaslyn, and I'm from St. Xavier High School, and I'm studying the effect of thermal therapy on the shelf life of Fragaria-nasa. Okay, so Fragaria-nasa are strawberries. Strawberries are cultivated all around the world, especially in warm climates. The average person eats about 3.4 pounds per year, so strawberries are really important. But strawberries have very short shelf life, from like 3 to 7 days. So I was wondering, what are some ways we can increase the shelf life of strawberries? So fruits spoil mainly because of mold spores that are found everywhere, and they germinate on the surface of the fruit. So thermotherapy is a process where you put the fruit in hot water to prevent the growth of mold and increase the shelf life. So for my experiment, I did 4 groups. The control group, which here as the green ones, they had no thermotherapy. Group 1 had 35-degree water for 30 seconds, and that group is the brown ones. Group 2 was in 45-degree water for 30 seconds, and those are the reddish or pink paper. And group 3 was in 60-degree water for 30 seconds. And as you see, that's day 1, and over here is day 8. So again, that's day 1. This is day 8. The greens are control, the browns are group 1, the reds is group 2, and the orange is group 3. As you see on day 1, all the strawberries were really nice. They look shiny and healthy and good to eat. On day 8, most of the strawberries weren't doing so good. These strawberries have prickly seeds. The strawberry over there has a lot of bruises and it looks smushy. But if you notice, the orange strawberry on day 8 looks a lot better than the other 3. So because for my experiment I had to interpret visual data, to interpret this data, I made stages of strawberry decay so that I could put them into what stage they fell into. So in stage 1, the strawberries are beautiful. They have bright red color. They're shiny. They're firm. And in stage 2, there's some small bruises, like soft spots, but the strawberry is still shiny and firm. In day 3, the strawberries are darker by the tip. They're a little softer. It's more neutral, and the leaves start to shrivel up. By stage 4, the strawberry is covered in bruises. They're mushy, has very bruised tip. The color is dark red now, and it's very neutral has a neutral firmness by the top, by the leaves, and very soft tip. On day 5, on stage 5, the strawberry doesn't look good enough to eat. It's mainly bruised, it's soft, it doesn't look edible at all. I wouldn't want to eat this strawberry. So these are my results. So the y-axis are the stages, and these are the groups, and the colors represent the days. If you can see, experimental group 1 and the control group are very similar, decayed at a very similar rate. Experimental group 2 did a lot better, decaying a little slower. Experimental group 3 has the biggest change. It actually didn't reach stage 5 by day 8. So in conclusion, thermotherapy did prolong the shelf life of strawberries. The higher the temperature, the slower the rate of the strawberries decayed. Perhaps we could try higher temperatures. This is very important because, especially now, fruits are imported from long distances, especially in the winter, because strawberries grow in warm climates. So during the winter, they come from other places. And because they're imported, some places don't have a lot of access to fresh fruit because fruits spoil. So thermotherapy can be a way that we can get other places to have access to fresh fruit, which are really important in our diets. They have vitamin C and foliate and potassium and antioxidants. So yeah, thermotherapy shows a great potential in doing all of this. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I will be talking about sustainability. In our school, we practice sustainability through hydroponics by growing our fruits and vegetables. This helps us save money in purchasing fruits and vegetables from the supermarket. Using hydroponics to grow our fruits and vegetables helps us know where our fruit and vegetables come from and how they are grown without pesticides.
Sustainability. We cook various cultural dishes in our cooking club each Friday and do class-by-class salad celebrations and use our fruits and vegetables from our hydroponic systems, from seed to table. Using the hydroponic systems, we save gas and decrease pollution by not using vehicles to go to the supermarket to purchase our fruits and vegetables. Hydroponics is a feature of farming.
Hydroponics in our school is growing plants without soil. Plants are grown with their roots suspended directly into water and added nutrients. In our school, we can grow fruits and vegetables throughout the year. Fruits and vegetables grow quicker than in soil. For example, tomatoes and cucumbers. We don't have to wait till spring and summer to grow these vegetables. Here is a picture of cucumbers and tomatoes growing in our classroom.
Wait, what?
Disadvantages of hydroponics: long-lasting electrical power outages. Pumps in reservoir will stop working. Plants would not get the continuous flow of water nutrient solution needed, and crops can be destroyed. Maintaining a hydroponic system can be expensive and uses lots of energy. Daily attention to plants is required.
Practicing healthy eating habits with the use of hydroponics helps us in our school to make fresh, local grown, class by class salads and healthy cultural meals. We are learning and understanding the benefits of eating fresh fruits and leafy green vegetables.
As we continue to practice healthy eating habits in our school, we also include families of the communities and visitors by sharing some of our fruits and vegetables with them. Many students get the opportunity to continue practicing healthy eating habits by taking their fresh produce home and cooking meals with their families. These are pictures of families of our communities and visitors that we give plants and vegetables to.
And I go to St. Xavier High School. And I did a project using something that I think is really cool, which is magnets. Before I started my project, I had to answer a lot of different questions. And the first question I had to answer is, what kind of plant am I going to use in my experiment? So I actually decided to use wheatgrass. You might not have heard of that plant, but a lot of people use it for shakes and smoothies and drinks, for health drinks, because it has a lot of really good benefits. It's very easy to grow. You can grow it almost anywhere. It grows to full size in almost 6 to 10 days, and it does a lot of really cool things. It helps prevent diabetes. It treats stomach issues. It provides many vitamins and antioxidants. And it also contains high amounts of protein and fiber. So this is definitely a plant that you want to have around. And my next question I had to answer was, what kind of magnets am I going to use in my experiment? The idea that I had before starting this was that if I exposed plants to magnets, they would grow better. So I had to pick really good magnets to make sure that it would work. So I had three different groups. My first group was my control group, where it was just plain plants, no magnets involved. The second group was my first control group with the weak magnet over there on the left, and the other one was the strong magnet over here. But a problem that I had that I didn't really realize would happen was rust. If you put metal in water for a really long time, it gets really rusty and gross. And that was not good because it interfered with how the plants were growing. So for my next trial, I got even better magnets. For my weak group, I got magnets that were made of iron, but they had this special plastic coating on them that made it so that they wouldn't rust. And for my second experimental group, I had these super, super strong magnets. They're made of this material called neodymium, and they're so strong that they can actually stick to the hood of a car. And the rust was totally gone. I didn't have that problem anymore. So all throughout the experiment, I had to take a bunch of different measurements. So of course I measured how tall the plants were growing to see if the magnets changed that, but I also had to measure the pH, the temperature, and the electrical conductivity of the water. This was all to make sure that the plants were getting enough nutrients and that they were going to be okay while they were growing. And I used a bunch of different tools to do this. I used a ruler to measure the height. I used a pH pen and an EC pen to measure the water. And I also had this special little solution that I would pour in, which had MaxiGrow, which is full of nutrients, and water. And that would make it so that the plants would grow right. And I put all that in using a measuring cup. So here's a picture of how I set my experiment up. All the way in the back is the control group with no magnet. You can see I have 2 sets of Rockwool squares there. There's 8 in each group. In the middle, I have the experimental group number 1. Now, you can't really see it that well here, but the weak magnet is in the middle between those 2. And in the front, you have the experimental group 2 with the strong magnet, and that magnet's sitting right there in the middle. And I drew a little picture so you can understand how I did it better. So you can see all the way on that end, you have the control group. There's nothing in the middle. In the middle, you have the experimental group 1 with the weak magnet in the middle there. And over here, experimental group 2 with the strong magnet in the middle. So after a really long time, this took me almost a month and a half, I put all of my data together and I came up with a couple of graphs. So I found out that if you have no magnet, the plants actually grow taller. And that doesn't seem like it really makes any sense. But I also did something else. I weighed every single plant that I grew. And I found out that the stronger the magnet, the more the plant weighs. So I was pretty stumped when I figured this out, but I did a lot of research, and here's what I think happened. So I found out that by exposing water to magnets, the salt ions change and dissolve, creating pure water that is more easily taken up by the plant. So right here, I kind of have a little map that shows my way of thinking. So if the water given to plants is exposed to a bunch of different magnets, then that means that the plants take up more nutrient-rich water than the other plants that have no magnets. And then that means that there's more growth inside and not outside, but the height is smaller. So basically what I think happened is the plant cell size went down, but the cell density went up. Density is really like how much stuff is inside of something. It's not necessarily bigger, but you can usually tell by how much it weighs. So I think that because the plants with magnets were heavier, they were actually denser, which means they had more nutrients. So when I finished all of this, I really had to think, how can I make this better? If I want to do this experiment again, how can I make it better? So what I realized was I had all of the plants sitting in one tray in the same water. But if I really want to see how magnets change the plant growth, next time I'm going to have to separate the water that the plants grow in. Because that could change so many things. That could change the height, the weight, and it could change the electrical conductivity of the water, which is usually just used to measure the nutrients, but maybe the magnets could change that too, and that would have an impact on how plants grow. So I have a little picture here, and I want you to think about something. You see all of these carrots? Do you want the skinny ones, or do you want the fat ones? The fat ones, right? So the skinny ones have taller leaves on top, and the fat one has much smaller leaves. But even though from the top that one looks smaller, it's actually better on the inside, on the bottom. So what I figured out is quality is better than quantity, and that means that you want something to be good. You don't just want to have a lot of it. Urban farmers, all of us growing plants in the city, we need a way to grow richer, more nutritious food in a really tiny amount of space, because we don't have huge amounts of grasslands where we can grow crops. We have schools and office buildings and not a lot of room. So we're going to need a way where we can grow the best food we can, even if it's not going to take up that much space. So my last thought is, how could this help people globally? So climate change, that's what we've been talking about all day. Climate change does a lot, but one main thing that it does is it creates really bad weather. People don't know what the weather's going to be, and sometimes the weather really wrecks a lot of plants and a lot of crops, and it's very, very bad. So what we need is a new way to grow plants. So if I do more trials with these magnets, if they actually make plants grow better, then maybe that can help us fix our problem of plants that are not growing well due to climate change. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lexi. Hi, I'm Joshua. Hi, I'm Gus. I'm Jaden.
Our world has a problem. Global warming is taking over because we are treating the planet that we love so much terribly. We need to do something to right our wrongs. We need to restore gardens and forests, and we need to use clean energy.
But how do we do that? Well, we could start by making buildings that are sustainable. We have decided to build a 5-story high luxury apartment building. It still meets all the perks of our daily life, but it is even better because it helps with the environment.
This was our draft design, so you could see the basics of like the building. This was our draft design, so we could see the basics of the building. Then we found a floor plan on our website where we could design the interior of the building. We made a floor plan for the apartments, the basement movie theater, and the roof. In it, all the wood and metal is reclaimed, and everything else is bamboo cork or wool, which is all sustainable.
Timbercrete. Timbercrete is an incredibly
It's not up here, but we also use kinetic tiles, and they work by using the weight of your foot to press generators below it. And each tile can generate up to 2.1 watts per hour, and our plan was to have 25 tiles in every apartment. There will also be in all main trafficking areas to get the maximum amount of energy.
Timbercrete. Timbercrete is an incredibly sustainable material. It lasts for hundreds to thousands of years. It is a similar price to bricks, but more soundproof and fireproof. Also, it is a great insulator, so you have less need for air conditioning units. Cork and bamboo. Cork and bamboo are water-resistant, durable, and good-looking.
For insulation, we chose sheep wool. This is because it does the job well and it's sustainable. It is a good insulator because it has pockets of space that creates and it captures cold air.
Solar power is when solar power, it's sustainable, it's inexpensive, and it helps our heat and sound insulation. And we're also using the transparent type called photovoltaic glass. And we would also use these as windows, so we got a lot done. Oh wait, there it is. Okay. Hydropower. That's when turns turn due to water flowing through it create energy. We would use this in tidal power because our house is located in Florida. Another way is the waterfall feature, which we would use to water plants, bring drinking water, and cool the building.
The gray water system. This system is good at using laundry machine water for the outdoors. All you have to do is attach a gray water system to your laundry machine. Then you can use that gray water for your garden.
We have decided to use the Phoenix composting toilet.
A composting toilet?
You heard right, we decided on it because it is odorless, waterless, and it takes the black water it uses and turns it into a rich mulch which can be used on our green roof.
The way we currently build structures is wasting the Earth's resources, and now with such few left, we need to come together to build the future before there isn't one. We are
the generation that has to do it.
Okay.
Is this working? Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Charis.
And my name is Grecia.
And our project focuses on comparing the effectiveness of potatoes, carrots, and wheat straw on absorbing manganese and dye.
Alrighty. So, sorry.
Okay.
Edward R. Murrow High School. Alrighty. So, water contamination is a current environmental issue. As we all know, water is essential to all living organisms. However, contaminated water can be fatal to marine life and if it is consumed. So imagine a world without Nemo or Dory.
Oh no.
It would be such a tragedy, right?
Yeah. Tears.
Yeah, same. Okay. Alrighty, so contaminated water contains heavy metals such as manganese and synthetic dyes.
And as a result, a lot of people in the world lack safe drinking water, which is why our project focuses on not only natural ways, but also ineffective ways to absorb these contaminants.
Alrighty, so you may be wondering where all of these heavy metals come from and how they get into our water systems, right? So, most of our heavy metals come from industries that dump all of their waste into, say, our water, okay? Yeah, so you can see on the diagram, it can also come from the runoff of pesticides and fertilizers.
The same thing for textile dyes. They come from many industries, and when the industries don't need them anymore, they just dump it into the water like you see over there. It doesn't look too pretty, does it?
Yeah, no. Right?
So manganese. We normally find manganese in water, and if we have too much of manganese in our bodies, it will lead to damage in brain development. So for example, let's say you'll forget things more easier, and not only that, but you'll also have a lot of behavioral changes as well.
Oh yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, don't let these beautiful colors trick you, okay?
It's not pretty at all.
They're not, yeah, the effects are not pretty at all. Synthetic dyes are commonly used by textile industries. When they are no longer needed, they are thrown into nearby waterways. Synthetic dyes contain mercury, lead, chromium, and copper.
Yep. So we actually use potatoes and carrots because they both have vitamin C in them. And vitamin C is known to be an ascorbic acid. And ascorbic acids, they bind very well with heavy metals, which is why we use them. So not only do they absorb the heavy metal, but it also contains the heavy metal.
Yep. Lastly, we used wheat straw since it also contains vitamin C. It was previously tested for the absorption of blue dye, which it successfully absorbed it.
So for our hypothesis, we thought that if we use wet carrots, then they will be the best absorption for the heavy metal and the dye.
Yes, we also hypothesized that as the mass increases of each of our variables, then the amount of manganese and dye in the water would decrease. Get this done.
Yeah, just go talk about these two.
Alrighty, so to conduct this experiment, we prepared our solutions with manganese ions and dye. Then we chopped each of our variables into small pieces, and then we split them into different masses.
So we also had 6 flasks, each for a different mass. And we let them sit for around 48 hours, and after we filtrated them, leaving only the solution behind. Afterwards, we tested the solution with a chemetrics kit, as you've seen on the bottom left. We basically tested to see how much manganese was left after we put the variables inside them. So for our results, we found out that rather than having the carrots to be the best absorbent, we found out wheat straw was the best absorbent. And we also found out that the correlation between the mass and the absorption was very high, which means that as the mass increases, then so will the absorption rate.
Yep. We also compared our variables, our wet and our dry variables, and we also figured out that our dry variables had a better absorption rate.
So we also found that for each variable, there is only a maximum to which it could absorb. So for example, let's say the potatoes, they can't absorb any more than 92.5%. No matter how much you try to increase the mass, that's all it could absorb.
Yep. In the future, we would like to further study wheat straw and observe the effects of different pH levels and temperature of water on its ability to absorb these harmful chemicals. Moreover, we would also like to work with different heavy metals, such as iron, copper, and chromium.
And on that note, let us work together to save our planet. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
This year we became a Zero Waste Pledge School, which is a program through the Department of Sanitation. As a pledge school, we have been working to maximize waste diversion, share ideas and progress with other schools, and foster a culture of recycling and sustainability. There were 3 phases to the program and we completed them all. Next month, we will receive the official title of Zero Waste School. In the first phase of the Zero Waste Pledge program, we did a bin inventory to make sure all classrooms had the correct garbage and recycling bins, as well as the proper signs. We also set up the recycling stations in our cafeteria. We met as a team to map out our goals and our teachers worked with the head custodian for additional support. This part was pretty easy because last year's green team did a lot in this area.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Naidu, and I am from Thomas Edison High School. There are my classroom roommates, Yarba, Adris, Akshay, Peter. Today we will be talking to you about our years as a zero waste produce school.
In phase 2, we did a waste investigation. We want to see what people were throwing out correctly and incorrectly. After we taught our peers and our teachers that the importance of recycling and the important waste has on our community. We also monitor recycle bins in our classroom and the cafeteria, that our works recycle increase and waste decrease by a lot.
We engage our school community in zero waste efforts. We got 250 of our peers to pledge against plastic. That is 20% of our school community. We also use discarded materials to create art. We create endangered animals, shelf house using recycled magazines and cardboard. We made large Go Green letters using old paper, discarded soft cups, and old cardboard. This art went towards our main entrance display case. We are also working on creating a hydroponic system using an old clothing rack, empty plastic bottles, and leftovers PVC pipes from another project. We had a lot of fun, and it really raised awareness in a fun way.
Before we end our presentation, we will like to thank a few people, and our principal, Mr. Hayda, and our assistant principal, Ms. Calavino, and our teacher, Ms. W, and Ms. Ramos, and all our professional and our custodian, Mr. Hall. We will also like to thank Mr. Berry from NYSW for all of his help this year, and a special thanks to all of you and the audience. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary, and I go to St. Xavier High School, and I wrote a poem called Hope for Our Planet, and I hope you enjoy it. I believe there is hope for our planet. Times are changing. People are believing in the possibility of a clean earth. Solutions are springing up to multitudes of problems, like the greenhouse in my school. We grow cucumbers and eggplants and peppers and kale, and mountains more, in a brownstone that is over 100 years old. It's absolutely incredible, and most importantly, edible, and it's all 100% delicious. People are discovering new miracles daily, and technology is changing to provide fresh food to people who are not able to access it, and making it easier to grow nutritious food indoors so the land can be used to shelter others. We might be in trouble, but you can ask any person on the planet, no matter their race, religion, or creed. If you ask them what they believe, they will reply, "I believe there is hope for our planet." Thank you.
Amazing! Wow, I love that there was inspiration for a poem. That's going to be a perfect transition for our last presenter today. We have a very, 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 very special guest. Kenji Williams is here with us today. He is a composer and the creative director. What is that? I don't know. Kenji Williams is a composer and the creative director and producer of the NASA-powered Earth from Space show, Bella Gaia. Kenji tours around the world at performing arts theaters, museums, and conferences, and we are so very excited to have him here today. So Kenji, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. My name's Kenji. The gremlins in the system
My name's Kenji, and I'm going to present for you a really cool space travel video. And who likes space? Yeah, me too. So I was so inspired by everything that you guys are doing, and this show was inspired by NASA astronauts who saw the Earth from space, looking out the window of the space station. Can you imagine that? Looking out the window and seeing our Earth with an atmosphere just 20 miles thick and this living bubble of life floating in the blackness of space. I was so inspired by astronauts and their view, it got me thinking, how can I bring that experience to the rest of us who can't go to space yet? Although I'm sure many of you will be going to space in your lifetime. So to get things started, I want to just share that the space station and the Earth have one thing in common. The Earth is actually a space station. There's a term called the spaceship Earth, and Earth has limited resources, limited air, limited water, limited space, just like the space station. And so what you guys are doing is so amazing, of learning how to grow, to recycle, to reduce consumption and waste. These are all the things to create Spaceship Earth. So thank you all so much.
Show you the Earth. It's a beautiful, beautiful view with predominantly blue background and very, very beautiful.
We are a water planet. Islands and coral reefs in the deep ocean are like pearls.
First day or so, we all pointed to our countries. The third or fourth day, we were pointing to our continents. By the fifth day, we were aware of only one Earth.
That was so amazing. Let's give it up one more time for Kenji. Yes. Wow. That was so... Whoa, what is that? Hey, sound people, can we make that stop happening? That was so beautiful. That really resonated with me because as an artist, you know, we all have different ways of moving through this world with our curiosities and expressing the things that we learn. And this planet, this one planet that we are living upon with each other, we have to take care of it the best that we all know how for each other, right? And so whether that, and it should be fun, it should be beautiful because it is beautiful. So today was so very special to learn from all of y'all. And I hope that I hope that you take, well, yeah, I hope that you tend to each other the way that you tend to all the things that you're growing inside of your classrooms. That's really important. If you had a fun time today, can I get a yay? Amazing. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming out, and New York Sunworks for having us. Bye-bye.
Shelves and books that were unused, and it was cluttered, and then it was a mess. And the past few weeks we've spent time cleaning out this whole area so that this grow lab could be installed, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
Hi, I'm Amy. These are my coworkers, Mamie and Virginie. This is our second project, or our second lab that we're building. You were able to involve our family in the lab building. It's been a very rewarding experience.
This is your vine crop system. You've got 10 buckets here, and then each of these tubes will deliver water into the plants in the buckets. And you're going to be putting your vining plants and your fruiting plants so that they can get nice and big. They're hanging the lights now.
It's going to give the girls a lot of experience that they've just never had, and it's also going to be a huge learning experience for myself as well. At our school, we're expanding our environmental engineering program, and so this lab is going to enable us to sort of get a lot more hands-on experience.
Here you're going to have an NFT system, and you're going to have 4 channels for plants to grow in. We like to put leafy greens. You'll have a reservoir, and the water will go through some tubing into the channels. The roots can catch the water and take up the nutrients. This is a tower garden, and the way it works is there's a reservoir at the bottom with a pump, and it shoots the water up to the top, and then the water trickles down onto the plants.
I've never had a system like this in the classroom, and we're going to be, working together and learning together, and it's going to be great. I would just like to thank New York Sunworks, Rigel Investments, and the Koper Foundation for building this lab in the classroom. It's going to be a really incredible experience for the students and for myself and for the future of our school. So, thank you.